When one door closes in your life, it is not a sign that heaven has forgotten you. It is not a signal that you have failed or that God has withdrawn his favor. It is, in fact, a holy redirection, a divine hand gently guiding you away from something that is no longer meant for your journey. Too often, we mourn the closing of a door as if our destiny was locked behind it. But the truth is, God never closes a door without already preparing another. The God who sees the end from the beginning does not make random decisions. Every door that shuts before you is a message. My child, I have something better. When God closes a door, he is not punishing you, he is protecting you. Sometimes he shuts the door because what is behind it would harm you, delay you, or distract you from your purpose. You may not understand it at the moment. Your heart may ache, your plans may crumble, and your mind may question why. But the Father who knows all things sees dangers you cannot see. He sees betrayals you are not yet aware of. He sees traps that the enemy has planted in your path. And in his mercy, he blocks your access to them. What you call rejection is often his redirection. What you interpret as an ending is actually the beginning of a new season. There are times when you pray and fast, asking God to open a certain door, and it remains closed no matter how hard you knock. Do not lose faith. That closed door may be the very proof that God has heard your prayer. He knows what you truly need, not what you think you need. Just as a loving parent withholds a dangerous object from a child, God withholds opportunities that might destroy your peace or compromise your destiny. You may cry, Lord, why didn't you allow me to have that job, that relationship, that opportunity? And heaven replies, because I love you too much to let you settle for less than my best. When we trust our limited understanding, we often chase after temporary satisfaction. But God works on an eternal timeline. What you see as a setback, he sees as setup. Every time a door closes, a shift happens in the spirit realm. God begins rearranging circumstances, moving people, and preparing the next chapter. The same God who shut Noah into the ark is the one who shuts certain doors in your life, not to imprison you, but to preserve you until the right season arrives. You may remember moments when a door closed and you felt lost, but later you realized it was God's hand leading you into something greater. That closed door became your turning point. It is often after a door closes that your faith matures, your vision clears, and your character is refined. The delay you resist becomes the development you need. Closed doors teach us to depend on God's timing rather than our impatience. They strip away false securities and draw us closer to the voice of the Spirit. So when you stand before a door that refuses to open, lift your eyes to heaven and say, Lord, I trust you. The same hand that closed this door holds the key to the next one. You are not being abandoned, you are being advanced. The door that shut was never the only one. God has already chosen another, one that aligns with your destiny and leads you toward divine fulfillment. What you think is the end is simply the beginning of something far more beautiful, because every closed door in the life of a believer is a sign that God is moving you into his higher purpose. There are moments in life when we stand at the crossroads of confusion, unable to understand why things happened the way they did. We question God's timing, his silence, and his methods. But beloved, you must remember this unshakable truth. God's plan is always ahead of your understanding. While you are trying to figure things out, he has already finished writing your story. The path that seems hidden to you is clear to him. The future that looks uncertain to your eyes is already completed in his design. God's plan does not unfold according to our calendar. It unfolds according to his divine wisdom and perfect purpose. We often think that understanding must come before trust, but in God's kingdom, trust must come before understanding. Faith begins where reason ends. When Abraham was called to leave his homeland and go to a place he did not know, God did not give him a map, he gave him a promise. Abraham walked in obedience not because he understood, but because he trusted the one who called him. That is the posture God wants from each of us. You may not know where God is taking you, but you must trust that he knows. Your confusion is temporary, but his plan is eternal. When doors close, we sometimes cry, Lord, why didn't this work out? But if God revealed every detail of his plan, faith would no longer be necessary. He hides certain things so that we can walk by faith, not by sight. Every unanswered question is an invitation to deeper trust. Every delay is an opportunity for greater dependence. You may not see what he is doing, but he is orchestrating events that will one day make perfect sense. The very thing that feels like disappointment today may turn out to be your greatest blessing tomorrow. Think about Joseph. He was betrayed by his brothers, sold as a slave, and thrown into prison for something he did not do. From his limited understanding, everything looked like failure. But in heaven's view, it was preparation. God was not punishing Joseph, he was positioning him. Every injustice, every rejection, every lonely night was leading him toward the throne of Egypt. When Joseph finally stood as governor of the land, he looked back and said to his brothers, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." That is how divine wisdom works. It transforms pain into purpose, rejection into redirection, and loss into legacy. You see, when you don't understand what God is doing, you must remember who God is. He is not confused. He is not late. He is not uncertain. His plan is layered with divine intelligence far beyond human comprehension. You are walking through pages of a book He has already finished writing. The tears you cry today are part of a story that will one day make others believe in miracles. The questions that haunt you now will soon become testimonies of His perfect timing. So when life doesn't make sense, rest in the truth that God's plan is not unfolding randomly. It is unfolding precisely. He has already gone ahead of you, prepared the path, and set the right people in place. You are never one step ahead of Him. You are always walking in the path He ordained before the foundation of the world. Your part is to keep trusting, keep walking, and keep believing even when the way seems unclear. Because one day when you look back, you will see that every closed door, every delay, and every detour was part of a divine design that was never meant to harm you, but to bring you into the fullness of God's perfect plan for your life. Faith is the bridge between the door that closed and the one that is about to open. It is what carries you across the uncertain space between loss and promise, between confusion and clarity, between what was and what is yet to come. When a door closes, you will not always see the next one immediately. Sometimes God allows a gap, a silence, a waiting season where nothing seems to make sense. In that space, faith becomes your only light. Faith is not about understanding the how, it is about trusting the who. It is the confidence that even when you can't see God's hand, you can trust His heart. When you face a closed door, your natural instinct might be to push harder, to try to force it open, or to look for another way in. But faith teaches you to pause, to surrender, and to say, "Lord, if you close this door, then I believe you have a reason." That kind of faith is not passive, it is powerful. It does not give up, it looks up. Faith transforms disappointment into expectation. It whispers to your heart, something better is coming. God is not finished yet. You see, the door may be closed, but heaven is not. The key to the next chapter of your life is not found in your own strength, but in your willingness to trust the unseen plan of God. When the Israelites stood before the Red Sea with Pharaoh's army behind them, the situation seemed hopeless. The door of escape had closed, there was no way forward, but faith opened a new way that human eyes could not imagine. The sea split and dry ground appeared. That is how God works. When you think there is no way, He creates one, but He waits for your faith to move first. Moses had to lift his staff in obedience before the miracle happened. Faith activates heaven's power. It doesn't wait for the evidence. It creates the evidence through trust and obedience. Every believer must walk through the valley between closed doors and open ones. It is there that God tests what you truly believe. Do you trust Him only when things are clear, or will you still trust Him when everything looks dark? Faith grows in the shadows, not in the sunshine. When everything seems uncertain, that's when faith becomes real. It's easy to say, "I trust God," when the door is wide open. But the true measure of faith is revealed when the door slams shut and you're left standing in the hallway of waiting. That hallway is holy ground because it's where your faith matures. It's where you stop relying on your own understanding and start resting in God's promises. Faith also helps you guard your heart against fear. The enemy loves to whisper lies when a door closes. He tells you that you failed, that God has forgotten you, that you will never recover. But faith silences those lies. Faith declares, "Even this is working for my good." It reminds you that your story does not end with a closed door. The God who opened doors in your past will open greater ones in your future. The same power that raised Jesus from the dead lives in you, and it can resurrect what looks finished. So stand firm in faith. When you cannot see the next step, take the one God has already shown you. When you cannot feel His presence, trust that He is still near. Every act of faith, every prayer, every surrender, every moment you choose to trust builds a bridge from where you are to where God is taking you. The closed door was not the end. It was simply the test that prepares you to cross over into a greater season. Faith is that bridge, and if you keep walking across it, you will soon find yourself standing before the door God has already chosen, ready to open it in His perfect time. Your attitude in transition determines your altitude in destiny. Every time God allows a door to close, He is not just changing your circumstances, He is also testing your heart. The season between what ended and what's coming next is the most critical part of your journey. It's where character is refined, trust is tested, and faith is proven genuine. How you respond to disappointment reveals how prepared you are for divine promotion. Many people miss the next door God has prepared, not because He didn't open it, but because they allowed bitterness, fear, or complaint to take root in their hearts during the waiting period. When God closes one door, He watches your reaction. Will you complain, or will you worship? Will you grow impatient, or will you trust? Your attitude is the spiritual thermometer that measures your readiness for the next level. If you respond with humility and gratitude, even in pain, you signal to heaven that you are ready for more. But if you allow negativity and self-pity to rule you, you delay your own breakthrough. God promotes those who stay faithful when nothing seems to be happening. Before every elevation, there is a test of endurance, and that test often comes through transition. The wilderness is a symbol of transition. When the Israelites left Egypt, they were promised a land flowing with milk and honey. But between Egypt and Canaan was the desert. It was a place of testing, not punishment. God was not trying to destroy them, He was preparing them. Yet many failed the test because their attitude remained enslaved to their past. They murmured, doubted, and complained, forgetting that the same God who opened the Red Sea could also feed them in the wilderness. Their negative attitude kept them wandering instead of advancing. Only those with a believing heart entered the promise. The same is true today. The attitude you hold in transition determines how quickly you move into destiny. Every delay has divine purpose. Sometimes God allows silence to mature your faith. He wants you to praise Him even when there is nothing to celebrate. He wants you to trust Him when the plan makes no sense. The right attitude in transition says, Lord, I don't know what you're doing, but I know you're doing something good. That attitude invites favor. It attracts divine intervention. Heaven responds to gratitude faster than it responds to grumbling. A grateful heart is a magnet for miracles. When Paul and Silas were thrown into prison, they could have wept and complained. Instead, they chose to worship. Their praise shook the foundations of the prison and opened the doors that man had locked. Your praise has the same power. It can turn a transition into a breakthrough. Sometimes transition feels like being in between two worlds. You've left the old season, but the new one hasn't yet started. That's when you must fix your eyes on the promise, not the problem. You must learn to wait without losing hope, to serve even when you feel unseen, and to give thanks even when you don't understand. God watches how you handle the hallway before He opens the next door. He is not only preparing the place for you, He is preparing you for the place. So keep your heart right in the waiting. Don't let the delay make you bitter, let it make you better. Don't let the silence weaken your faith, let it deepen your worship. The door will open when your spirit is aligned with God's timing. Every moment of patience, every act of trust, every thankful prayer is building your readiness for what's coming next. Remember, the transition is not a punishment, it's preparation. Your attitude in it determines your altitude in destiny, and those who trust God in the hallway will always step through the next door with grace, power, and purpose. When God closes a door, it is never to lead you into despair, it is to direct you toward a higher purpose. The new door He opens is not merely a place of greater comfort, it is a place of greater calling. God does not move you from one season to another just to make life easier, but to make your life more meaningful. Each new door carries a new assignment. Each transition comes with new responsibility, deeper faith, and higher purpose. If you expect the next door to simply be an upgrade in comfort, you may miss the true miracle that God intends. His plan is not to pamper you, but to position you for kingdom impact. Many times when people lose something, a job, a relationship, a dream, they think it's the end of their story. But in God's perspective, it's the beginning of transformation. The closed door may have been a place of comfort, but comfort is the enemy of growth. God often disrupts your peace to develop your purpose. The place where you were may have been good, but He is calling you to what is greater. The door that shut behind you was not a punishment, it was an invitation to rise. You may not have chosen the change, but God knows it is necessary for you to fulfill what He created you to do. Think about how Jesus called His disciples. They had to leave their boats, their nets, and everything familiar to follow Him. Their old life was secure but small. The new door led them into uncertainty, but also into destiny. Had they stayed in their comfort zones, They would have caught fish, but by walking through the new door, they learned to catch men. Every new door God opens expands your influence and increases your purpose. It may stretch you, it may scare you, but it will also shape you into the person He designed you to be. When a new door opens, don't expect it to feel easy. God's open doors often require courage, faith, and obedience. The new season will challenge you to think differently, pray more deeply, and depend more fully on His Spirit. You cannot walk through a new door with an old mindset. What worked in the last season may not work in the next. God wants to renew your thinking so that you can step into the fullness of His plan. The new door always carries a divine demand. It asks you to trust beyond what is comfortable and to serve beyond what is convenient. The greatest mistake believers make is assuming that God's favor means a life without challenges. But favor is not the absence of obstacles. It is the presence of divine purpose in the midst of them. The new door may come with opposition because the enemy knows what's behind it. The moment you step into purpose, resistance rises. But don't let that scare you. Let it confirm that you're walking in the right direction. Every giant in the promised land is proof that you are close to your inheritance. When one door closes and another opens, you are not simply changing seasons, you are being promoted in destiny. The new door carries a higher purpose, a greater assignment, and a deeper revelation of who God is. The comfort you lose is nothing compared to the calling you gain. Every new opportunity God brings is designed to draw you closer to His heart and further into His will. So when you face the unknown, don't pray for comfort, pray for courage. Don't ask for ease, ask for endurance. Because the new door is not just about blessing, it's about becoming. And when you walk through it with faith, you will discover that what God has prepared for you is not just bigger than what you left behind, it's eternal. Thank you, my dear brothers and sisters, for opening your hearts and joining me on this journey of faith and revelation. As we've shared today, when one door closes, it's not the end, it's the divine beginning of something far greater that God has already chosen for you. Every delay, every detour, and every disappointment is a sacred part of your destiny. Hold on to your faith. Keep trusting even when you don't understand. God's plan is unfolding perfectly. Even in the silence, may you walk out of this place with renewed courage, unshakable trust, and a spirit ready to embrace whatever new door God opens next. Remember, you are not forgotten, you are not stuck, and you are never without hope. The author of your life is still writing, and the next chapter is filled with glory. Thank you for your time, your faith, and your hearts that believe. May God bless you, guide you, and fill you with His peace as you move forward in purpose. Until we meet again, keep walking by faith, keep trusting His plan, and keep expecting miracles. Goodbye, and may the grace of God go with you always.